Right. Now this is the soul of your answer. So you need to find the soul of your answer, and according to me, this is the soul of the answer to a salient feature for Indian Contract Act. Hello everyone, I'm Shivani and welcome to Vakilaw, Know the Law. In today's session, as I stated in my previous video, I will be discussing about what questions can be asked in your exam papers relating to history and salient features of the Indian Contract Act of 1872. So now understand that I will be stating some questions which can be asked for long answers in your exam paper. So the first question is, describe in detail the evolution and history of contracts. State the importance of law of contracts. The second question that can be asked is, elucidate the historical background of law of contract in India. Explain the structure of the Indian Contract Act of 1872. Third question is, state in detail the salient features of the Indian Contract Act of 1872. Now, more or less in all these three questions, I will be giving you a model answer. You can adjust the provisions as have been asked in the exam paper and write a similar answer to what I am going to tell you. This will help you to write point-wise answers, which will help the examiner understand that you've understood all the concepts clearly. That is what is the main soul of your exam papers. Understand that you need to convince the examiner that you've understood the question properly, you've also understood the subject properly, and the result of that is that you are writing this answer in a very lucid form, in a very point-wise manner, and also in a very reader-friendly and to the point. So basically, the very first part that you're going to write in your answer is the introduction. Now, what is an introduction? So, introduction will be an introduction to the subject of the subject about which you are answering the question to. Now, here I am talking about the Indian Contract Act. So, what is expected as an introduction? So, in the introduction, you have to write a backdrop of the contract. So, what is the contract? So, now let me give you a very small example. So very first thing that you're going to write is that the law of contracts in India are governed by the Indian Contract Act of 1872. So this is the first line that you can write in your answer sheet. What will be the next part of the introduction? It is going to be a general concept that you are going to write about the contract. Now it's normally expected to write in 5 to 6 lines about the introduction. So it's that it's governed by the Indian Contract Act, and a contract in simple words can be stated as whatever your definition is. Here the introduction part will end. Now what will be the later part? The later part you are going to enumerate the elements of contract. Now as I discussed, there are 4 elements. First one is offer, acceptance, intention to create a legal relationship, and consideration. So these 4 points you will write as elements. Next part, you will move towards the history of contracts. I have discussed about the history of contracts in my previous video. I have also shared a link of that video in the description box. Do check that out. Then you are going to write about importance. Why are law of contracts important in our legal system? So I have also stated about that. You can check that also. Later on, you are going to write an overview of the Indian Contract Act. Here, you are required to write a bird's eye view of the Indian Contract Act, which I have discussed. So, here what is expected is when the Act came into force. So, it came into force on the 1st of September in 1872. And it has been stated in 2 parts, and it is Act number 9 of 1872 is what is expected to be written in the overview. Now, after this, the main answer of your question will begin. So, you are going to now write about the structure of that. So, what is the structure? I have stated that section 1 to 75 and the later sections that I have given in the previous video. Now, after writing those sections, you are also going to write that how many sections. So there are in total 266 sections in the act. So, and later on you're also going to write about that the sale of goods and partnership provisions have been repealed from the Indian Contract Act and have been incorporated in two new acts, that is the Sale of Goods Act of 1930 and the Partnership Act of 1932 respectively. So, and why this happened? Because it was the need of the hour that such changes were required to be made. Now this is what is expected to be written in the structure part. And lastly, you are going to write a present situation of the presently how many sections are available in the Indian Contract Act. So there are 10 chapters and 238 sections in total. So here your structure part will end. Now what is the next part? Next you will be writing about the arrangement of sections. I have discussed about that in the previous video also. So how the sections have been arranged for Indian Contract Act is what is expected to be written. And now coming to the main part of the salient features. Now understand that salient features is also an overview, but not a bird's eye view, but something in deep relating to the act. So here you are expected to write everything from section 1 to the last section of the act that has been provided, including the sections that have been repealed. So you have to write that the provisions regarding to sale of goods and partnership have been repealed and have been reenacted in another act. So here you have to write from the preliminary part. So short title, extent, commencement or the interpretation clause has been provided, and then you have to take a look section by section. Now in a time of 3 hours you can't keep on writing just one answer for all 3 hours. You need to manage your time also while writing your answers. So understand that you have to write very small and to the point answer to this question. So you have to enumerate the main keywords or key points of every section. Like for example, now let us take the first section, section 2 to 9. What does it do? So it deals with the basic concepts. What kind of basic concepts? So proposal, acceptance, consideration, etc. So you are going to write that section 2 to section 9 of the Indian Contract Act deals with basic concepts such as proposal, acceptance, consideration, etc. So you have to cover the entire gist of the sections that have been provided in one single line. So here your writing skills and the art of whatever you have understood by the provisions of this act will play the key role. So you're expected to write such kind of answers, and also you're expected to write what you have understood. Now in my previous lecture I had told you that there is a main feature of the Indian Contract Act. So that feature is it lays down the general principles of law of contract. Now this is the soul of your answer. So you need to find the soul of your answer, and according to me this is the soul of the answer to a salient feature for Indian Contract Act. That is, this is the only law that is governing the law of contracts in India, and at the same time this is the law that deals with the general principles of contract. So then you are going to write the definitions of contract that have been stated. Then you will write about valid contracts, essentials of valid contracts, consideration. You will also write about competency of parties. You may also write about which agreements are declared to be void, etc., etc. All the main points and all the main characteristics which are included in the Indian Contract Act are to be written in this answer in one line. So here is the real talent of yours that is going to play a key role. I have discussed about the salient features in my previous video. You can take a gist of whatever I have said and form your own answers, and you can also ask me if you have any query regarding the same. And after you write this salient features, you are also expected to write a conclusion to the answer. Now this is the very important part for any answer to be written. So for in case, now let me give you an example that in case of salient features or a brief history of the Indian Contract Act, what is that you can write as a conclusion? So you have to write whatever answer you've written in total on your answer sheet, you have to summarize it, and that is what is to be written as a conclusion. Like for example, you can write. So the first point will be that in India, all contracts, that is types of contracts and rules and provisions regarding the same, are covered by the Indian Contract Act of 1872 unless otherwise stipulated by the parties. Then you will follow with the later points, which will read that Indian Contract Act is a complete guide to contracts, or as I said, that the main key feature is that it deals with the general principles of law of contracts. So the main points or the main soul of the answer is what is required to be written again in the conclusion. So with this, I think your answer will be complete. All your points regarding to the question that has been asked in your question paper will be covered, and I'm sure that you will certainly score good marks if you write your answer in this format. If you have any query regarding to any point in this question or in the overall syllabus, do feel free to ask me the same. So I think that's all for today. In my upcoming video, I'll be discussing about the later part of the Indian Contract Act of 1872. So till then, stay tuned to vakilaw. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel Vakilaw, Know the Law. Till then, this is me Shivani signing off. Stay tuned to Vakilaw, Know the Law. Bye bye.